Hello, I'm Dan Raver for Boardman School's Television Network. Welcome to this edition of Boardman Township Today. I'm joined today by our show's host, Mr. Bill Light, Boardman Township Fiscal Officer. In today's program, we welcome Boardman Fire Chief Mark Pitzer. Welcome, gentlemen, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Good morning.
So let's talk a little bit about a little bit about general fiscal operations.
Well, I'll take that part and then turn it over to Mark. But the fire department operates on a budget out of the general fund. It runs in the neighborhood of $4 million, a little bit north of that. That covers their manpower, their fiscal property, and their equipment. And then most people in the area have heard that we're building a new fire station. And one of the things that I thought we would do today is to have Mark expand that conversation, telling us why we needed a new station and the process that we went through here in Boardman. We didn't just decide this 2 weeks ago and now we're building a building. I mean, it's been a year-long process of plus. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, or Mark is, and then we'll talk a little bit about his equipment that he uses in the fire department, and then the various departments, sub-departments within. You know, we have a fire inspection team, when there's they go out and check buildings to make sure that they're safe. We have fire inspectors that go out and look at every fire, and that's going to be part of the discussion. And then I think it's interesting because people really don't get an opportunity other than the fire department open house, which was just last month, to go in and look at all of the equipment that these firefighters use when they're on the job. You hear the TV slang of knocking down a fire and all that. That's real stuff, but you got to experience it before you really understand it. So, Mark, let's talk about the building first.
Yes, Mr. Light. Our current fire station was built in 1923, so we're nearing almost 100 years of us operating out of that facility. And if we look back at the evolution of the fire service, back then fire trucks were small. They didn't carry a whole lot of equipment, maybe some water, maybe some hoses, some axes, and that was about it. But through the years, the fire service has evolved to almost like the catch-all of safety for a community. Not only do we run fire emergencies, but now we're tasked with, running auto accidents, where now we got to carry the jaws of life. We have to carry extrication equipment. We're carrying more tools through innovation over the years as far as, ventilating a home or, cutting a hole through a roof for ventilation, things of that nature. So, we're carrying more and more equipment. So our fire trucks over the years, they've obviously gotten a lot bigger than what they were 90 plus years ago. So, we're running gas leaks, we're running medical calls, fire alarms, CO checks, just the whole gamut of anything that a resident needs in Boardman Township, we provide that service to them. So we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of equipment, so we can kind of be the jack of all trades. So the situation that we're in now, as Mr. Light alluded to, this year we took delivery of a new engine, and even that new engine, I was out in the apparatus bay with a tape measure, measuring the opening of the garage bay so we can see if we can even fit a new engine in there. And we literally had 2 inches to spare to get that engine into the current fire station. So we have some problems there. A couple years ago, in 2012, we purchased a new ladder truck. And our old ladder truck was under 10 foot tall, while the new apparatus are 12 foot tall. Now the garage door opening at our current fire station is only 10 foot. So our new ladder truck that we purchased won't even fit into the building. So when it comes to equipment, those are some of the areas that we are failing with our current fire station. Some of the other issues that we're experiencing with our current fire station is we've had a lot of foundation issues. We've had sewage backup into the basement. We've had to waterproof the basement, and we spent a lot of money over the past 5 years just to maintain and upkeep that station. We've had mold remediation. We've had repairs on windows, the basement, like I said, waterproofing. We spent in excess of $120,000 of maintenance on that building alone for the past 5 years. So it's been very expensive to maintain that building. And last year, I had to shut down our fire prevention office. Bill, I alluded to, we have another department within our organization that they go out on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, and they inspect all the commercial businesses in our community to make sure that they're safe, they're kept up to date as far as all their safety measures that they need to have, smoke detectors, sprinkler systems, fire extinguishers, so on and so forth. So they were in the building next to the fire station, and we have had significant water issues in that basement to where it progressed into having black mold in that basement, which is a huge safety concern for our people. So I had to essentially remove them from that building. They are now operating out of the administrative building out in the zoning department. They're kind of like packed in there like sardines right now. But I had to do that for their safety. I can't let my personnel operate in a building that has black mold. It's just a safety concern. So, through the years, we've known that we've had these issues. And in the early 2000s, we had to redo Station 4. That's a new building on South Avenue. We did a remodel of Station 3 on Lockwood and Shields there. And then we were in the process back in early 2000s to replace Station 1, and then kind of the economy slowed down. We had some issues there through the middle 2000s where we had some layoffs and things like that. So we were never able to complete that project of rebuilding a new main fire station. So with the help of the Board of Trustees, with Bill Light, and the collaboration and relationship that we have with the school system is just something that I've never seen before in any other community. We were able to facilitate a property swap with the schools that is allowing us to build a new main fire station on Market Street next to Center Middle School and Stadium Drive, that little grassy area there. It's about 1.6 acres of land, and it's just big enough to where we can put a fire station there. So with that property swap, it gives the school the needs that they're experiencing now as far as a bus garage. So we had a property that had a bus garage that, or a big maintenance building that they could use as a bus garage, and then they gave us that property, Market Street and Stadium Drive. What that has allowed us to do is our current site that we have, we're able to sell off that property, okay, and that is going to give us some monies to put down towards a erection of a new main fire station. So over the past few months, we've hired an architect, MS Consultants. I've been working with them and Jason, and I have a little building committee within the fire department. We've been working with them hand in hand over the past few months to design and develop a floor plan of a new main fire station to allow us to have the office space that we need, the training components that we need, the physical fitness needs that we have to have for the fire service and our firefighters, and an apparatus bay that is large enough to allow us to, store our equipment. So that's kind of where we're at right now with that project. We're hoping within the next 2 weeks, I think November 28th, we are tentatively going to go to bid for that project. So hopefully we'll have a good, strong bid. We'll come back. The contractors will submit their bid on what their projected construction costs are. Hopefully we'll be able to award that bid, and our goal is to maybe this spring break ground on that new fire station.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, seeing the community come together for both the schools and the government trustees just coming together on such a great project. It's great to see.
Me personally, and I guess this is my time to thank our leadership in the township and the leadership, the school board for their efforts, because this is a huge undertaking, and this is a collaboration like you would never have seen anywhere else. And we're proud of that, because this affects the direct end user, the taxpayer, by not costing them excessive money. So we're doing the right thing. We're being good stewards of taxpayer money, both the schools and the township, to better provide a service to the community. And I couldn't be more proud of that and appreciative of those efforts.
Okay, could you tell us a little bit about what the new fire building will be like?
So the new main fire station, obviously we're going to have an area where we have reception, lobby, and we'll have our offices, and we'll have our living quarters for our personnel that work at Station 1. Right now, we currently have about 5 people working out of the main station right now, between the engine, staffing the engine there, and my assistant chief. I have 3 assistant chiefs, and they run each shift every single day. And then we'll be able to bring back the fire prevention bureau back into that fire station. We'll have office space for them. We'll have a nice fitness room so our firefighters can stay fit to do the job. They'll have their living quarters or bunk rooms. We'll have a nice day room for them to lounge in, a kitchen, and then we will have a training tower, which that'll kind of be the focal point of the front of the building. And what that training tower does is 2 things. It gives us an area that we can hang our hose to dry. After we run a fire, we come back, we have to clean our hose, and then we have no way to dry our hose. Right now we're hanging our hose on the rafters at Station 1. So this tower is very functional because we can hang our hose up there vertically to allow it to air dry, and then it has an interior stairwell where we can do some training. We have a few high-rise buildings, if you will, in our community. We have the hospital. Holiday Inn is a large building, so we want to make sure that we can practice those evolutions to where, we don't take our hoses off the fire truck. We actually have to go into the stairwell and tie into a standpipe and flake out our hose, charge it, and to be able to go attack the fire. So it's a training component as well. There will be a window up top so we can practice throwing ladders to that window, climbing the ladder, doing ventilation, rescuing people from that window. We have a mannequin, a dummy. We can bring the mannequin down that ladder safely like we'd be rescuing a victim. So that's a pretty important and nice feature to have, that we can maintain our training. And then we have an apparatus bay that will store our equipment. Our goal is hopefully to maybe bring back our ladder truck back to the main fire station, so that truck isn't running as many calls as it is right now at Station 4, so we can save the wear and tear on that vehicle. It's $1 million vehicle. So that's kind of how the building is going to be laid out, and anybody from the community can always stop by our current fire station and come and see me, and I have prints and drawings and and a rendering of what the station will look like if anybody would like to see that. One of the other key things is, for many years, our township has grown toward the towards the south end of the township, and as our township has grown, our response times to the south end have been delayed, just based on the geographic location of our current fire station. So the closest fire station to the south end of the township now is our current main fire station on 224, which is the center line of the township. So when we have to run a response out to Western Reserve Road or that area, or down in Runnymede or Carter Circle, it takes us 7, 8, 9 minutes to get out there, and that's not acceptable by today's standards. By moving our fire station over to Market Street, around the corner, around the mall there, it reduces our response times by roughly 45 seconds to 60 seconds. So we're able to reduce our response times to the south end of the township by nearly 1 minute. And I'll be able to judge those response times a little better once we get in that station. I can start to track those trends for our responses to the south end of the district. So it places us a little bit closer to the south end, which is going to improve our response times to the south end of the district. And it really won't hurt our response times to the central corridor of where the majority of our calls are, in the centralized location of the township. So we're still in that, in that neighborhood. So it's a win-win. We know, based on a study that was done 15, 16 years ago, that we needed a fire station to the south end of the township. So, we've never been able to complete that because of, just the economy, and, it takes money, obviously, to build a fire station, buy new apparatus and place personnel in it. So this is a great win-win for the community.
Yeah, the project, it'll cover basically all the bases. You got safety of the officer, the firemen, the response times are going to be reduced, hopefully, and it's just a new building in general for all the equipment. Like, that's amazing that the township is going towards that.
Right. One of the other issues we're experiencing is, we do have some old equipment. As Bill Light alluded to, we have a fire truck that needs to be replaced. It needs to be decommissioned as soon as possible. It is, and I don't want to sound dramatic, but it's literally falling apart. Our mechanics have done a tremendous job with trying to keep that vehicle on the road. They've had to weld the subframe and everything else. It's when you look at the fire truck, it doesn't look like it's in that bad of shape, but it's everything underneath. It's the frame, it's the structure, it's the bones of that apparatus that is rusting away, which is concerning to us. So, that vehicle is 20 plus years old, and it needs to be replaced. And as those trucks have evolved through the years, they've gotten bigger, and obviously they've gotten more expensive. So our new truck that we just took delivery of back in March, it was $470,000, and that wasn't equipped. We were able to move equipment over from a wrecked apparatus. But so you're looking at almost $500,000 for an engine, and then if you would need to equip that vehicle, you're looking at another $60,000, $70,000. So, you're nearing $550,000 for a new piece of equipment.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit about just firefighting in general?
Well, our job is very challenging, as most of you would know and understand through the movies. A lot of it is obviously dramatized, but it is very intense. We had an unfortunate incident, and I believe I spoke about it a few episodes ago. I was on with Bill Light, that we had a firefighter fall through a floor at a fire we had in 2014, and he's slowly been able to come back to work, but he's still sore. He's still suffering from his injuries, and obviously that is a very tragic event for us. We're working a fire, and then we hear one of our firefighters call a mayday and state that a firefighter has fallen through the floor and we can't find him. So it's very traumatic. It's very hard. It's very rigorous work. The equipment alone that we wear, our bunker pants and jacket, our turnout gear is what we call it. Your pants, jacket, your hood, helmet, mask, gloves, your air pack, your face piece, all that stuff weighs about 70 pounds. So you have all that weight on you. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. It's very cumbersome. And then you're carrying hose lines, you're carrying tools, you're carrying equipment, and it's physically demanding. And think of it as you're carrying all those things, then you have to go maybe do a rescue. Now you have to drag somebody out of a home, maybe a grown adult that could be 200 pounds plus, and we have to be very physically fit to do this job. So that is why we give our personnel the ability to exercise while they're on duty. We have fitness rooms. We make sure our guys are strong and able to do the job. It's very critical that our guys are healthy, strong, and capable of doing the job. So, firefighting is very challenging, and I talked about it last time I was on. It's not just as simple as dragging a hose into a house and putting water on a fire, and that's it. There's a lot of things that are involved with firefighting on a scientific level, the way fire progresses, the products of combustion. We have to read those conditions. We have to make good, sound judgment calls so we don't get ourselves into a situation where we have firemen going into an environment that could be very unsafe and very volatile, to where we could have a condition called flashover, where everything inside that particular compartment that they're in, the living room or whatever, doesn't flash over, and everything ignites and catches fire and essentially burns them up. So it's very scientific. There's a lot of thought and effort into our tactics, how we're going to attack a fire. So not only is it physical, it's also mental, because we have to make sure that we're making the right decisions. If we have rescue, that we operate a certain way, that we're going in there for life safety first, and then our tactics kind of change a little bit. Life safety is always our first priority on any fire, is to make sure that anybody inside that fire is viable or savable, and we work very hard to ensure that we can do those rescues. back in April, we had a apartment fire on Glenwood Avenue. Unfortunately, that resulted in one civilian fatality. But our folks were able to go into that apartment, extinguish the fire. I had other crews go in and, and search a bedroom, and they were able to rescue 2 people out of that apartment. We're very fortunate that we were able to save a life that night. Unfortunately, one of our residents did succumb to to smoke inhalation that evening. But it's very tough. It's very challenging. It weighs on our folks, mentally as well. So.
Okay. About how many firefighters do you have?
We have 39 firefighters. We operate a 3-platoon shift, so our firefighters work 24 hours on duty and then 48 hours off duty. So those 3 shifts, we have 12 firefighters assigned to each shift, and then we have 2 firefighters, 2 lieutenants that are assigned in the fire prevention office as well, and then myself, and then we have an administrative assistant and a secretary for fire prevention.
Okay, what's like the general age for a firefighter around?
Our average age right now on our department is probably around 40 years of age. We have a good makeup of young people, which is great. The young people are, a little bit more, they have a little more energy, because this job is very physically demanding. When you're talking about people retiring, you hear people retiring in their 60s, early 60s, late 60s. For the fire service, it's, we're talking, early 50s, because the job is very physically demanding. So with our average age of 40, we're doing well. We have a good core group of guys, and they stay fit, and we're proud of that.
Yeah, Mr. Light, I know that you said earlier that you had some experience with the fire department, actually going to a building.
They at the old blue building, when I first, 2003 or 2004, the fire department invited the elected officials over to just go through some normal routine. Holding the fire hose and then putting it on full blast. I mean, you're like holding a python that wants to bite. It's just going where it wants to. And it takes a lot of leverage and a lot of strength to hold it to hit what you're aiming at. Unfortunately, I got Kurt Seditz, who was the administrator for the township at the time. I blew him off his feet, and I was accused of maybe aiming at him, but it didn't. It just got away. And but when they took us into the smoke, you get down on your hands and knees, and they gave us all of the gear. We had all of that turnout gear. We're not used to that, I understand, but you're thinking first, how am I going to get out? That's the first thing. And then you got to hold the back of someone's foot in front of you as you're crawling through this place. I mean, and you can't see a thing. You can't see a thing. I don't know who the lead guy is. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and you're just hoping you're not crawling into it. You stay back far enough. So these guys have tremendous training, and they do it, and they do it right. So it was quite an experience, and it's one of those professions, and it is a profession. It isn't a job; it's a profession. Some of the younger guys coming out of school that don't know what they want to do, they ought to take a look at it.
Absolutely.
I don't know whether fire academies available.
Yes, there's a number of places you can go and receive training. We have here locally at the Mahoney County Career and Technical Center, we put on firefighter and EMT classes there. Also, you have the State Academy down in Reynoldsburg, which is outside of Columbus. That's where our state training academy is located. So you can go down there and also receive your firefighter training. When it comes to the medical side, there are various places that offer EMT and paramedic programs. Youngstown State University is one of them. Back in 2000, I received my training for paramedicine at Youngstown State University, and there's a few other hospital-based programs that are out there as well. So there are ways or avenues to go out and receive training to get established and get into a direction of entering this career field. Bill Light did bring up a couple points that I did want to mention. He talked about how difficult it was to manage that hose line. It's not your normal garden hose, obviously. It's, our smallest attack line for a fire is 1 3/4 inches in diameter. So it's a good size hose, and our nozzles that attach to that hose line in particular will flow up to 200 gallons a minute. So that's a lot of water coming out of that hose line. And then a 2.5-inch hose line flows about 325 gallons per minute. So you're holding on to that hose extremely tight with leverage and everything else involved to manage that hose line. But that's what it takes to extinguish a good-sized fire in a home or a business. One of the other things that we talked about, or Mr. Light alluded to, was he went to that fire, he couldn't see it all. That's the reality of it, and obviously for TV purposes, you watch Chicago Fire, maybe saw some of those movies, the old movie Backdraft. You see inside that fire. Well, they have to for the movie purpose, right? If not, if it was an actual, legit fire with smoke and everything, you wouldn't see anything on TV. It would just, you'd be walking to the front door and it would be black. And that's what you see when you go into a fire. We have to use our other senses when we go into a fire because you can't see. We have to use our senses. We have to feel. We have to listen. We communicate, with each other, through voice. It's very challenging, and it's kind of unsettling and unnerving. As Mr. Light alluded to, you're going into an environment and you can't see anything at all. It's completely pitch black. You can't see the hand in front of your face. So, we train obviously, for that environment. But yeah, it's definitely very difficult.
Well, no, the other thing was I noticed I had a difficult time hearing, and everything's muffled. So you depend on the lead guy to just keep you in the firefighting mode. It causes a little adrenaline rush.
Yeah, it must be very physically demanding, especially with everything that's going on in your head while trying to save people, put out the fire, and still get out, safe and secure. I mean, I think we need to owe thanks to all the firefighters that are in service today, and past firefighters as well, because it's a great job for the community and serves us well.
One other thing, we're winding down here, but you had mentioned. You guys are becoming first responders, which means that you get to most emergencies quick. On a medical emergency, the thing that hits close today, and for all these kids out here, are drug overdoses, and we carry Narcan.
Narcan, correct, yes.
Okay, now is that on every truck or is that on the command vehicle?
We carry Narcan on every single apparatus that we have. We have a BLS kit that we call it, that we carry Narcan, and we carry a few other drugs that we can help somebody who is experiencing a medical emergency. We carry oral glucose, for diabetics if their sugar is low. We carry aspirin, nitroglycerin. We carry EpiPens, so if somebody is having an allergic reaction to something or anaphylaxis, we can render that. But Mr. Light alluded to that we carry Narcan because of these overdoses, and this is something that I don't know what the answer is or what we need to do to fix this, but on a almost daily basis, we are giving Narcan to somebody who has overdosed. This heroin epidemic is, there's no other way to describe it other than it's unbelievable. I feel for those people who are having these challenges with drug addiction, and I would hope that they would seek help for that. But it is very bothersome to us in the fire department because on the regular we are giving Narcan. And when I entered paramedicine 17 years ago, we carried Narcan then. This isn't a new drug. It's been around for decades. And when I had somebody overdosed on a narcotic 17 years ago, my drug dose was 0.4 milligrams up to a maximum of 2 milligrams. What we're finding out now with how potent and toxic these drugs are today, we're giving an excess of 8 to 16 milligrams of Narcan. So, it's exponentially more, and I'm not even sure these drug dealers out there or the people who are manufacturing these drugs, what they are thinking by making these drugs that are this toxic. We're coming across heroin that has carfentanil in it, which is a potent sedative. And what is happening is they're mixing this in with their heroin, and these people are taking it, and it's instantly depressing their respiratory drive. They're not breathing at all. So what happens is they're not breathing, they go into respiratory arrest, they turn blue. Ultimately, that leads to cardiac arrest. So what we're seeing is these drugs are they're not getting anybody more high. They are killing people. And it bothers me. It is something that I don't know how we address it or how we fix it, other than we try every single day to go out and save these people.
It's great that you're trying to save people, even though it's such a struggle in the community to overcome.
Right.
Well, one of the other things that I'd like to point out is most of our firefighters in Boardman are trained paramedics. So when they go out, they're trained to deal with this. Mm-hmm. Firefighters 15 years ago were trained to fight a fire. Now we go out and we have to be prepared, as Mark said, for any situation.
Yes, you're very omni-efficient with this, because any situation, whether it's drug overdoses, fires, or any medical emergency, you're ready and responding to it.
Right. See, many years ago on the EMS side of it, we never really provided medical care. It was done by the funeral homes. They would have a hearse and they would carry a bottle of oxygen with them, and then somebody would, have a medical emergency. They would call. You didn't have 911 back then. They would get a hold of the funeral home and they would have a little light on top of their hearse, and they would run on the road. They'd, take that individual who was having a medical emergency, throw them in the back of the hearse, and drive as fast as they could to the hospital. Really weren't providing any care. So as it evolved through the 60s and 70s and early 80s, it just became a perfect fit for the fire departments to provide medical care, because number one, they're a staple in the community. We have fire stations all throughout the community, so it's a close proximity to maybe where you live, so the response times are a lot quicker. And we started to train people on pre-hospital care, EMTs and paramedics. So it just became, the firemen are in the fire station. This is just another component, another service that we could provide. And it has resulted across the nation in saving many, many lives by us doing EMS in the fire department. And I could go on and on and on about what we do on a daily basis when it comes to medical emergencies and how many people we actually do save. It's not 1 or 2 a year that we save. On the regular, on a daily basis, there's somebody out there who is experiencing a medical emergency that can progress into something a little bit more critical, i.e. Cardiac arrest, and we're preventing that. So we're happy that we're able to render this service to the Boardman community, obviously at no cost, to the community. We're here, and it's a huge benefit for our community.
We're definitely thankful for all the service that everyone in the fire service provides. I think it's about time to wrap up. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Pitzer.
Yes, sir.
We really appreciate it. Thanks for being with us today, Mr. Light and Chief Pitzer. It's obvious the Boardman Fire Department is in good hands with Chief Pitzer at the helm, as well as the governing body of our township. Thank you both for being with us today, and we thank you for your continued efforts and dedication in keeping Boardman a nice place to call home. Thanks for joining us today. For BSCN, this is Dan Raver. Best wishes for a wonderful Thanksgiving. Let's keep striving for excellence.